Dearest gentle listeners, you are listening to the Ladies Bridgerton, the talk of the town. We are your effervescent hosts, your neighborhood friendly, very sick Kiwi Tash from Middle Earth, New Zealand.
And Patty, hold on, I am laughing for a reason. And Patty, Regency romance enthusiast, currently writing her unapologetically audacious era.
Love that. Settle down onto your favorite settee as we delve into the lives of the elite and illustrious ladies, lords, and royalty of the ton. This Bridgerton podcast is two friends talking romance, symbolism, Easter eggs, and deep diving into the connections of our favorite characters. My vocal cords are not able to do much more than that today. We cover both book, TV series, and notable social media, and therefore will contain spoilers.
Okay, so first of all, have you seen SpongeBob SquarePants?
Yes, way too much of it as an adult.
So you know what I mean when I go chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you sound like. You sound like that. Like, what is that? Plankton's grandma or something?
The vibes I'm getting is actually the Selma and the Simpsons, Marge's sisters, the smokers.
Yeah, the smokers. Or if you've seen Young Sheldon, the church secretary.
Mm-hmm.
You are given that vibe. Like you've smoked 10 packs today.
Yeah, like it's a bit gravelly, it's a bit sexy, it's a bit musky.
It's giving Greek grandma.
It's good. I'll take it.
Okay, so happy anniversary to the Ladies Bridgerton Facebook group.
Woo, woo, woo.
1 year ago, Tosh had a twinkle in her eye and a pollen in her heart. She began a journey with the drop of the season 1 first half that would lead her down the path to meeting Lady Patty, me, and birthing the Ladies Bridgerton. We have had so much fun doing this podcast and building a community with all of you. So for some special anniversary shout outs, KK Chips for being the best ever third wheel in admin. You make Eloise proud. Julia for being our first Patreon subscriber. And Sarah, Stephanie, Di, Katrina, and Susan for engaging with us in the former Pollen Edits chat turned Tangent Squad chat. And I know there's so many more people, but they're consistent. Yeah. Maria for keeping up the Bridgerton song entries in the Facebook group. I greatly appreciate that with my 40 hours a week and everything else I'm doing. And my ADHD because, dopamine
unmedicated.
Is gone for that. Yeah, I still pop in like, ooh, this new song, I really like it. I'm throwing that in there today. But finding a song became tedious to my ADHD brain. So thank you, Maria. To Stephen for being such a gem and making sure the computer is always ready to record, and Tasha's mom and dad, and Stephen for corralling a feisty preschooler also.
And many thanks for the coffee.
Many thanks for the coffee. And Smaug for supporting and allowing me to use this podcast for therapy by airing our story. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of you. Is there anything you want to say before I continue?
My dad brought me today and I am officially medicated. That is my medication.
Oh, I had plenty of caffeine today. So, yeah. Now today we continue our sibling discourse, analyzing the opposite gender counterpart. We may sprinkle in some tidbits about each sibling as they relate to the whole of the rest of the group, but all that matters is that we are still talking Bridgerton, and it's the best day of the week.
Now we have from memory some announcements. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's some Bridgerton news out there. I have seen rumblings that filming has ended. I've seen some posts that say rap parties have occurred, and I'm only saying
wow.
I'm saying these are rumor.
I was making a play on words of rap parties, like
right.
My arms are weak. Yeah. Legs. I can't even remember.
Mom's spaghetti.
Mom's spaghetti. Yeah. This bomber on a sweater already. He's nervous, but on the surface, he looks calm and ready to drop Bridgerton.
Oh. So why do I get the feeling that in a rap battle, I think Luke Newton would win?
Oh, he would have. Oh, I think it would be an all-out battle between Claudia and Luke.
Oh, I think Claudia could throw down, but I think Luke Newton would win.
Oh, Claudia's pretty sassy. I think she would win.
Sassy, but I mean actual, I think he could bust out a freestyle rap.
But that's what I'm saying. Claudia Jessie is
She's
so
saucy.
quick. She is so quick that
Yeah.
I think she would have the most audacious lyrics
I
that
think
would,
she,
I
yeah, but
think
I
people would
think
be
she'd
like,
start laughing.
whoa. You know,
Right. I
I
think
think,
I think he could do it freestyle. I think if Claudia had time to prepare, she'd come in with something badass. But I think she needs some preparation.
all right.
She's
So
very impulsive, but I think when it comes to wordplay, she needs a little bit of time. But I
I
think
want to,
Luke Newton would just throw
all
down.
right, let's put a poll up. Someone write down to remind us on, wait, so this Sunday's one
Put it
is
on your
already
calendar.
this, so it's not the first,
That's the
not
seventh.
the first, but the 8th for me. The 8th
Yeah,
of
eighth for you.
June. I'm gonna write this down.
The 8th of June, the month that sounds like
8th of June.
so while you put that in there about us putting up a poll about who would produce the most epic rap battle, I'm going to move on. So possibly rap parties have happened and they are done filming. And two, we've had some Bridgerton postings, like people associated with the show. There's been a throwback Thursday kind of thing about the Featheringtons, and it was a photo of the Featheringtons. And then there was one recently where Connie Greg, who was young Violet, there was a photo with her and the two actors that played her parents, Lord and Lady Ledger. And with the To Doom thing coming up next week, there's rumblings that we're going to hear about a Bridger spinoff. And I'm down for it. I hope that it is another like back in the day one.
Mm-hmm.
I have a whole thing, which we've already discussed, of how it would work. I still think Colin and Penn are going to write the Wallflower, and I think that they're going to work together and they're going to use stories from their families. And I think we should see a season where Violet and Portia are out at the same time kind of thing, and that would be fun.
It would be.
I think it would be a blast. And Edmund Bridgerton is like the catch of season.
He is the catch of the century.
Yeah, but we don't know that till he becomes a parent, because he's a prankster. He's a goofball until he gets married and has kids.
Myself a goofball.
Oh, I love a good goofball too. But I want to see a season. I want to see well, they don't have a diamond back then, but I want Araminta Cowper. Well, not Cowper, but whatever her first last name was. I want to see her thinking she's all that in a bag of chips. I want to see her thinking she's all that in a bag of chips, and it's her and Portia and Violet are all out in the same season. Then in the end, Violet pulls it out in the end. And I can just imagine friends this whole time.
Just imagine that they would get the casting for Bridgerton are phenomenal, and I think Jessica Madsen is Scandinavian looking enough, but also not blank enough, but like she would be quite easy to match someone's looks to that, as long as they get someone like in the Scandinavian kind of background to play Araminta young. Because I think that Jessica, what's her actual name in the show? My brain is
Cressida.
Thank you. My brain's gone today. I think that Cressida is just carbon copy of Araminta, and there is no Lord Cowper in there at all, really.
He acts like there's not. Makes me wonder.
Yeah, it's
entrapment.
All right, now we
want to see it. I want to see it happen.
Now we must make haste into today's episode. Okay, today we are going to be doing some of my favorite sibling combos, which is going to be Colin Eloise, Benedict Eloise, but then I also wanted to talk a little bit about Francesca Anthony and a little bit about Hyacinth just in general. She is an entire vibe. So I want to start out with talking about Anthony and Francesca, because I kind of want to analyze how he acted with Daphne in the first season, how he acted with Eloise in the second season compared to how he acted with Francesca in the third season. Because I mean, we have broken down a lot how his Judy kind of guided him and kind of
He barely was even aware that Eloise was out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so in the first season, we've got where he is in full duty mode. I need to be the man of the house. I need to be in charge. I need to control everything because he felt so out of control. Season two,
Yeah,
he is now, oh, I'm completely distracted because I'm trying to find my own mate. And I think he also respected the fact that Eloise is Eloise and she is her own person. It seemed like he was
I
giving,
don't. I think he felt like he
it was a lost cause to
bungled
bring to her.
everything. Well, I think he felt like he bungled everything with Daphne, so he completely rolled over and gave it to Violet. And then
Third time's a
Violet
charm.
Violet screwed the pooch, for
Yeah.
lack of a better
Yeah.
phraseology, or felt like she screwed the pooch
Mm.
there. And so it became him escorting Francesca around again, but this time
Yeah.
he's giving her space and giving her
Third
respect. and
time's a charm.
and Violet, like, you kind of see Anthony and Violet both like hanging back. Like,
Hmm.
I think they worked really well together with Francesca.
Yes.
Much to, I don't want to say the detriment of Colin, because I think Colin and Penn always figure it out on their own, and
Yeah.
they were gonna figure it out on their own, and
But
they didn't
that's
need help.
because they are both very independent people who can figure it out on their own. Whereas
And
Francesca,
I heard a
yes, she
phrase,
is.
I heard a
Francesca is independent when it comes to her wanting to be left alone, but she's not a good decision maker. You see, literally the entire way through, she wants everyone else to do the dirty work for her. She wants everyone else to make the decisions for her. She doesn't want to have to decide anything. So she needed someone with a little bit of a stronger arm. She probably needed a little bit more Anthony season one, to kind of
yeah.
push through. No, he's not good enough. No, he shouldn't be anywhere near you. Like, just be like he needed to be a little bit more season one, and it's quite interesting because he's got four sisters to work through, so he's gonna hopefully figure it out by season four, or high season, shall I say?
Well, that's what I'm saying. When it's hyacinth season, like we said, Gareth is going to be trying to say, "I love your
Hmm.
sister. I want to marry her," and he's going to just talk over him and be like 12,000, fifteen
So,
thousand. Like,
um,
he's just trying to get the last one off his hand.
I don't know if you've seen it was like a super viral, not meme, but like a skit on the internet, and it was like, what do you have to offer my daughter? And it's like that guy dancing, like, I've got nothing
Oh yeah,
but this,
yeah.
and he dances.
Nothing but
Um,
this. Yeah.
And it's the scene from Gilmore Girls with the movie that Kirk makes, and what do you have to offer my daughter? And then he just breaks out like this like dance sequence, like I've got nothing but dance, you know. That's kind of like, imagine if Gareth pulled that in front of Anthony just to mess with him, and Anthony's like, I give up, I'm done, just take her. I don't want it. I don't want any part of this.
Right. Well, and I think that I mean, this really does come down to an Anthony thing. Like, well, I think it comes down to a Violet thing. Like, personally, I think Anthony's attitude in season one, he has a lot of pressure put on him by Violet. I think that's
Yes.
completely her doing and her fault, because she ultimately wants him to end his bachelor ways and
Yes.
get married.
Well, you
So
know what I was
she's
thinking
making
about
it.
last night? I don't know the age gap between Edmund and Violet, to be fair. I don't think it's much. I think it's maybe a year or two. But what she's probably thinking is, at your age, your father and I were married and we had children. But what she's forgetting to recognize in that scenario is they chose that. He did not choose to have these children. This responsibility was thrust upon him. And it makes a big difference in life when you choose a path rather than being thrust down it. Not that
Right,
I
having
think
it
he
shoved
would
down your throat.
not
Yeah.
that I think that he would ever abandon his responsibility or his siblings, or anything like that, but it is a lot of
No, and
pressure for such a young fella.
he acted according to, they say that oldest siblings who end up becoming parentified, there's, I don't know the exact statistic, but there's a large percentage of them that end up not having children of their own, or they don't follow that path of marriage and children because they've already raised a bunch. You know what I mean? Like, I have a friend who is the oldest of, I don't want, eight, nine. It's a lot. But yeah, she was not about that life. She's like, I've already done kind of, actually, I had a friend in high school like that too. And she didn't even have a lot of siblings. She only had like four young. She did end up having a son. And maybe some other kids after that. We lost touch. She did not want to have kids. Like, I've already, so, and Anthony kind of falls into that. Like he didn't have time to court.
Yeah.
He didn't have time to, because he was running an estate and he
Yeah.
was raising children.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Violet was there, but there's back then you needed a man. You needed a man to do a
Everything.
whole hell of a lot.
Everything, pretty much.
So 2025 people can't go, oh, Anthony had time because Violet was there. Violet could not sign her name to nothing to get anything done. Anthony, I mean, even in our imaginary scenario of Colin and Daphne being parentified because Benedict and Anthony were off at school, Anthony would still have to come home from school to get bills paid.
Yes.
To meet with the solicitor to handle properties, to get maintenance done. Like that would have been a really rough thing to just get thrown into. And so, he was going to sow some wild oats for a heck of a lot longer than your average Joe.
I think it was also one of the reasons why we had Lady Tilly this season, to kind of show us how society reacts to a woman who does do all those masculine jobs, of like how much of an outlier they are, like that it's not normal. This is not how it's done in society. And Bridgerton are really good at doing that, where they will add in these side characters to help us kind of understand where society is at with those personalities.
She completely has that attitude. And this is another personal anecdote. And I've not asked person if I can use it. So I'm not going to say who this is, although they are very close in my circle. But they came out in the late 90s, right? So growing up, learning and realizing that they were gay in that time period, where legit gay means stupid, gay means dumb, gay means uncool.
Gay means I don't like that. It's used as a derogatory insult for anything that you dislike.
One of his first tattoos he ever got, he was old enough to get a tattoo, was the rainbow flag. And underneath it says, "So what if I am?" And that is Tilly's whole demeanor. Like, so what if I'm a woman running an estate? So what if I'm talking to a solicitor? So what if I'm in a tent learning about engineering? So what if I am? Like, that is her whole and it has to be because she's an anomaly in that time, and she would have had to be a lot more assertive and aggressive to even make space for herself in those rooms. I don't think
that Violet is that sort of person. Like, I think that she does actually like keeping, like, yes, she does not really conform to society's ways entirely, but I think she still is very feminine and likes to keep a lot of the proprieties where she is concerned, because she did court within the, I mean, from what we know, she courted within the realms of as it was supposed to be done. And doesn't mean that she holds her children to that standard, but I think she does hold herself to that standard to some degree.
Well, we saw how she did everything according to how it needed to be done, because Anthony got thrust into raising not Benedict, we'll say not Benedict, but, raising 6 other children, making sure they had governesses and nannies and wet nurses and clothing and all that. And Violet stayed Violet.
I think it's why Benedict and Anthony are actually so close, is because it's the one sibling that he feels like he didn't have to parent. It's the one that he gets to be not quite on par with, but more on equal footing, because if something happens to me, then it's you. So you still have some of
They're both
the responsibility.
learning it.
Yeah,
they both had to learn it, because Benedict had to know how to do it if something happened to Anthony. Yeah, he was the spare.
So I think that's why Anthony and Benedict have the relationship that they do, because Anthony at least feels like that Benedict had some of that same pressure put on him, not to the same degree, but enough that he didn't have to raise him. They are very close in age. He didn't have to raise him, and he had some idea about the pressure that was thrust upon him. And
they kind of have that vibe of like Anthony's the strict parent and Benedict is the fun parent. Like, he's the one that goofs off with the kids and, tapping Gregory on the arm, like, was it worth seeing the balloon or whatever, and joking with them. And so Benedict still comes off as parent, but kind of like fun parent, kind of like the fun uncle, really. But Colin comes off as like the doting father. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking at the younger kid. And I think that plays into Colin and Eloise's dynamic too, because they're antagonistic with each other. And I think it's because, like, Colin didn't try and parent Daphne. Daphne was only a year younger than him, and they took over the mantle, I think, when the boys were at school. of playing mom and dad.
Well,
And
and I also
Eloise then is the oldest child. And she's like, what are you talking? I'm a year younger than you, and I'm
Daph
only 2 years younger than you.
Daphne was
And I'm
oldest.
smarter than the both of you.
Daphne was oldest girl though, and like
Mm-hmm.
as so growing up myself, and this is a personal anecdote, but growing up myself, my parents from when my brother was 14, so I was 11 at the time, you know, because that's the legal age that you're allowed to leave a siblings home together, without so school holidays. Even though my brother is 3 years older than me, it would be me taking care of him, making sure that the food was
Mm-hmm.
cooked, making sure that the chores were done before my parents got home,
Mm-hmm.
because it is kind of an expectation that women will run those things. And it doesn't matter if it's the 1800s or the
Nope.
2000s, that was kind of,
Or the 80s. My sister left. She graduated in 86 and she went off to boot camp, decided,
mhm,
and she left home. I was 10. I was 8 years younger than my sister. My
mhm,
brothers were both 6 years older than me. And my closest sister was a year and a half younger than me. Me and my sister became responsible for the
yeah,
entire house. My brothers had to, it became a thing of like, they had to help us do dishes when it was like a full family night dinner. So it
mhm,
wasn't like one of us doing
yeah.
all the dishes for a million
We
people.
we had a chain set up. One washed, one dried, one put away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we had two. One brother worked with one sister, and we traded off every week. So whoever had the kitchen, they had the kitchen for a week, and whoever had the living room had the living room and the
Mm.
bathroom, and they had that for a week.
So,
But the boys only had to help us with the dishes. We had to clean everything else, and the bathroom had to be cleaned like every Saturday, completely scrubbed down and bleached because we had one bathroom, like one
yeah.
shower for our.
That's one thing I'm very much looking forward to, is now that we are looking like we're going to get more for the house than what we first anticipated, is, oh my
Trying to
Lord, can I afford two baths now? Luxury.
it really is. And I grew up with, I mean, there were six of us kids, two parents. We almost always had people over, and then
Mm,
everybody started having, my sister had kids and she lived with us for a little while with the kids. Like there was always a ton of people, and we always only had one bathroom, and I'm like,
mm.
who needs two bathrooms? And then
Everyone.
I rented a house. I
You
rented a house that
you
had an
never
ensuite.
realize you never realize the value of a second bathroom until you all get a stomach bug.
Well, that and you never realize, as a woman, you can kind of get used to the man in your life, but teenage boys.
So a funny story for you all, even though it is definitely a tangent, sorry. Skip ahead 2 minutes if you want to skip this. So, on Tuesday, I think last week, I had my property inspection done in order to sell my house. And of course, one of the major parts of property inspections is to test your bathroom and surrounding areas and laundry for water damage and moisture in the walls and whatnot. So the guys finished down that side of the house, and I said, all right, because as he's going, I'm obviously cleaning my house and getting it ready for open houses as well. And so I said, hey, are you all finished down in the toilet now? Just because I'm, doing my weekly clean. Am I all good to go in and clean? He goes, yeah, 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 I'm all done in the toilet. You're all good. So I go in, spray everything down, put my chemicals in the toilet, whatnot. And then I leave it because obviously you read the instructions that many people don't.
You let it
It
sit.
says,
Yeah.
let it sit for 10 minutes, go in, wipe it all down. So I'm now in the kitchen working away, and the guy goes back in and he's testing my shower. And he goes, all right, I've just got the one wall left to test. Everything else, all the moisture levels, all looking good. No moisture in your walls. And then he goes, oh, I've just got to test in here. And so he goes into my toilet, because the toilet wall backs onto the shower, the back of the shower, through there's a wall, but like, it backs on.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes in and he tests and he goes, I'm really sorry. You've actually got moisture in this wall. I'm going to have to cut it open. So my husband goes out and he goes and gets a specialty tool that cuts a 100 mil hole into the wall, and he puts his tester in and he goes, there's no moisture in this wall. Where is this moisture coming from? And he goes, it smells really citrusy in here. Did you just spray down this toilet? And I said, I asked you if you were done. He goes, why would you spray the walls down? I said, I have a little boy. I spray everything down.
Right.
You never know how far it can spray. So blanket statement is, I spray everything and wipe it down. He goes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. You just cut a hole in your wall that we just finished painting 2 weeks ago for Nothing.
Nothing.
And then we all had a good stressed out laugh about the fact that we had 4 days to fix up our wall before our open houses began.
Oh my goodness.
So no one
Well, and
can
that's
say
the
that
thing,
I
like,
don't clean efficiently.
and that's the thing, like, I realized what a luxury it was to have a second bathroom after having to share a bathroom with a teenage boy.
Yes.
Like, no, I will
Gregory,
never.
I'm not sharing no bathroom with Gregory. That boy just looks like he does not know how to aim.
For sure.
No chamber pots in my dining room, boy.
There better be a
No gravy
divider.
boats for you. He needs a way bigger surface area to be aiming at.
You just need to go outside. Go out in the back garden, dude.
Yeah.
Go behind
Yeah.
a lilac bush.
Yeah. So I don't even remember where this tangent began or ended, to be completely honest. But
We were talking about sibling order and girls being responsible for the housework.
yeah. So yeah, I do definitely think that Daphne, even though she is technically younger than Colin, I do think that she took on the brunt of the motherly duties of the household in every regard.
Oh yeah, I think she took over Violet's role, but I think Colin was the dad in terms of, like, because you can see how
Yeah.
affectionate he is with Hyacinth and Gregory, that he was the cuddler.
Yeah.
Like, I think he read them stories, you know.
Took them on little walks.
Eloise does not want to hold a child. And while she is the reader,
Yeah.
I think Colin is also
I think she would hate to have to dumb herself down to read children's book. Although actually, if you read the original Winnie the Pooh, Peter Rabbit, all those kind of books, the language was not simplified. Like, we really have dumbed it down for children.
We've dumbed it down a lot. And the
Substantially.
Grimm's fairy tales are brutal.
They are not for children whatsoever. Teenagers,
No,
maybe.
I don't think Colin is reading, Pokey Little Puppy.
No.
I think he's doing some Don Quixote, or knowing him, he probably just made up story. He probably made up, because I did that when my niece and nephew lived with us.
Ezra. I said, Mummy's eyes are too tired. How about I tell story tonight instead?
Yeah. When I was little, my older sister would come in and sing because I learned how to read very young. So my sister did not want to read to us. I would correct her. So she would sing to us though. And when she had kids and they were living in our house, I would read them a story and sing songs to them for them to go to sleep. So, but a lot of times, look at you. A lot of times though, they wanted me to make up stories, because I used to make up stories a lot. I still make up stories all the time.
For those who can't see the mic, we have a little guest star with us, because someone's being a noisy little pookie bear, because she can see the dog's windows next door. How much is the doggy in the window? The one who goes woof, 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 woof.
If she's like my dog, she's like, how dare you not be in my house playing with me right now? But wait, you're not allowed in my house.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, obviously I had that guest, my guest for the days over the weekend, and my girlfriend had to come stay very quickly because her fiance had to be rushed to hospital in Christchurch, and so she had to bring her greyhound with her. And I don't know where I got my idea of greyhounds, because I've only ever seen them from a distance, like on races and things like that. And my entire recollection of a greyhound is basically Santa's little helper from The Simpsons. And so I thought they were half the size of what they actually are. They are horses.
They're huge.
Ginormous. Yeah. I thought that they were maybe a 15, 20 kilo dog. No, 40 kilos.
Yeah, they're huge.
Which is 70 pounds or something, big dog. And I was like, what if I had just invited my house? This is a monster. This is a whole human.
And Lily was probably like,
didn't even wake up.
Girl Scout.
Did not wake up from her spot. She
really?
Didn't even acknowledge that there was a person /dog/horse in her house.
/horse. And we will gallop right along now.
We will gallop. Yep.
So yeah,
sorry.
I think Antony was a lot. I think if Violet hadn't have stuck her nose in, Antony would have been a little softer and a little bit easier with Daphne. But Violet added pressure.
I think
that
it was that.
Violet added pressure in season 2 by announcing that he was searching for his mate.
Yeah.
And to the point where everybody's crowding around him all the time at all these, soirees.
Yeah.
That he just doesn't have a chance to even give two craps about Eloise. And I think that's what she wanted. I think she was trying to protect Eloise from. Yeah. She was trying to protect Eloise from season 1 Antony.
Yeah.
But then she messed up. She pushed Eloise a little too hard and it
I
didn't
don't think she
go.
did, to be honest. Like she blames
I
us.
do.
Uh,
Forcing her to dance with dude and getting her personality completely wrong, like saying he's just like her. I no.
I don't know,
No, that
but like the way that she said, oh, I pushed Eloise too hard and look how that turned out, that whole scandal befell my family. I don't think that what happened with Eloise had anything to do with Violet, is what I'm saying. I think that was
I
Eloise going through her own exploration and that was her own choices and it was nothing to do with her mum pushing her. It was to do
yes.
with her feeling like she did not fit into the society that her mum was not necessarily thrusting her into, because I think her mum was actually relatively gentle when you look at the likes of
I don't think Theo had anything to do with Violet. Like
no.
Violet pushing,
But
I think Eloise was going to always have, she was going to end up having some sort of rebellious adventure.
mm,
She wants to be, if you look at the dynamic of everybody, like Colin wants to be accepted by his brothers
yeah,
for who he is, not be like them, but be
yes.
accepted for who he
Yeah.
is and be considered a peer as he is. Eloise wants to be like her brothers. She wants to go to university. She wants to do all the things men can do.
She
So,
wants to
yes,
choose her spouse. She wants to make decisions for herself.
well, I think she also wants to have all of those adventures that she knows Benedict and Antony are having. And I think Theo was that for her, only she
Yes.
realized a little too late, being a girl, a woman in that time, it was not going to play out the same.
No.
And it messed up any potential friendship she could have had with Theo in the long run.
Do you
But
think that she has
I think
enough?
that whole adventure was trying to be like Benedict and his art, trying to be like Antony as, being a lord out in the world. Eloise wanted a taste of that life, a
Do you,
taste of go. I mean, I think Eloise wants to go to White. I think Eloise wants to have a mistress or a mister. I think Eloise would do it because she wants to be like her brothers. She wants to do everything they do
I
more than
don't.
Colin ever did.
I don't think she does. I think she just wants the choice too. So, do you think that Eloise then has the level of self-awareness slash selflessness to acknowledge the risk that she was putting her siblings at by the way that she carried on with Theo? As in, do you think that she would have risked their reputation? Like, say Francesca and Hyacinth desperately wanted to marry well, that was their dream in life, whatever, whatever. And knowing that because she did realize in the end that this isn't going to work with Theo for a reason. Do you think that part of that reason at all was this will befall my whole entire family and bring scandal upon them,
Yes.
shun them from society? I don't think she necessarily cared about the riches or how comfortably she lived. I think she loves her family enough to know that she was jeopardizing them.
But she didn't know it until that moment.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference with
I
between
think
Colin and
I
Eloise. I think
think I
Colin
think
is
Daphne's season
crafty
I think season 1 Daphne finally got through to her. I have more pressure on me than what you think.
and Penn.
I have to
Yeah.
I have to marry well for my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be the example of my family. There is pressure on me, and I think that Eloise finally got that when she realized, oh, I like Theo, but like this will ruin my family. She finally realized what Daphne went through in season 1 of my choices don't just affect me. They affect others, and am I willing to sacrifice them for my need wants?
Right. And Penn as well, because when the stuff came out about
Yes.
Marina, all of the girls' futures, like even when she was back in Bridgerton house and
Hmm.
she sat down with Eloise, she was basically like, I have no future.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what my future looks like because I don't have one.
Yes.
And not knowing it at the time, but Penelope sacrificed her entire future for Eloise's family, right?
Mm.
For her
Well,
second family.
that's the one thing
And
I want to see in next season. I want Eloise, and we talked about this a little bit in the last episode about how I want Eloise to go back and read those articles, and I want her to actually have that fleshed out. You nearly destroyed your family for mine. You outed
mm-hmm,
Marina, knowing what it cost you. Like I
mm-hmm.
thought that this was just gossip, but actually you helped save my brother from
Yeah,
entrapment.
and that's it. And I think her storyline plays into that because you're right. Like Daphne told her, I have to think of you guys. What I do now affects your future.
Yes.
And then Penn outed Marina. which Eloise didn't know that it even was Penn until she's in that
But
moment with Theo
realistically,
and realizes,
it
oh
did
my
affect
gosh, what am
Prudence,
I
and
doing?
I mean, not so much Philippa, because she already had Denki at that point. Sorry, Philippa already had Finchy at that point, but it did affect Prudence
Finch.
because Denki wasn't on the scene and Prudence had no prospects whatsoever. And it's not to say that she necessarily
Prudence ruined
cost her.
herself because of her
It's not
who she
necessarily to say
is.
that she ruined her because she never had any prospects to start with, but it did potentially affect any future prospects. But Prudence is narcissistic enough to believe that, no, actually, it was your fault. You caused this. You did this to me. And maybe I would have had prospects if it wasn't for that, because she's never going to see her own faults as the reason why she wasn't married. She wants to
No,
blame everyone else except for herself.
true. But I also think that and I still stand by the fact that Portia being the way Portia is the reason
Yeah.
there's no, because the only reason that Finch and Philippa got together is because Portia was not always around her kids at this function. So I think Philippa made her own way. Prudence was never going to make her own way. I think Prudence was too busy trying to be what her mother wanted her to be, that she was never going to venture out and find her own thing.
Mm.
She was always going to end up with the dude that Portia found for her.
Yeah.
Always.
And I actually think that she did exceptionally well with Denki. Like, he was the perfect husband for her.
Portia, the reasoning behind Portia choosing Denki is very different than what Denki ended up being, which I think
Yeah.
Prudence
Yeah.
lucked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the arc of Eloise,
Yes. Yeah.
I think having spent an entire season having her best friend and her older sister saying my decisions are not just don't just affect me,
Yeah.
because when you look at season 1 Benedict and when you look at season 1 Antony, they really do go around acting like their decisions only affect them. They
Yes.
are able to stay discreet. They are able to be
They
quiet.
weren't
Like,
that discreet, but also, as long as they were
they're
being,
men.
as long as they were being, quotation marks, quotes, discreet, then society
Yeah.
accepts them doing whatever they want to do, as long as
But
they're not
everybody,
flaunting it.
right? But like Violet said, everybody knows that Antony has a mistress, and Benedict was a little more discreet, but it still came out. Like Eloise found out about it, right? So
Yeah.
I think she watched, and I think that whole scenario was a big deal in what led her to kind of kindle, having this romance with Theo, because she watched Benedict do it, and with it being somebody that is in her mind is in the ton, because Genevieve makes all the dresses, right?
Yes.
So I think she thinks she can do it because she believes she can do whatever her brothers can do.
Yeah.
Only she realized in that moment when Theo went to kiss her that I'm more like Daphne.
Yes.
I'm not like Benedict.
Yes.
There is a double standard here, especially going to all these feminist rallies that she's been going to. She understands more than anybody in that moment. It took her getting to that moment, but in that moment,
I want to see her take Penelope.
well, I think she's her whole public speaking thing. I think that's going to play into.
I think Penelope's
her
going
and
to
Philip.
encourage it.
I think Penelope will encourage it. I think that Penelope will be front row center.
I actually think the Queen will as well, because I think the Queen has had an entire lifetime of hiding behind her husband's crown while secretly running the entire ton herself. And she's like, I'm not allowed to run this, so I have to work within the bounds of what society allows me to do. So I think she's actually going to be completely all for Eloise shaking up what society expects of women, because she's had an entire lifetime of being underestimated and being controlled and being told, you married this man, you have this baby, you run this thing, but don't let anyone know you run it.
We already know that she's going to be like that because she allowed Penn to continue writing.
Exactly. So I think
she is all for women having their own thing.
Yeah.
So I think in that moment,
she's best friends with Lady Danbury, who's also an incredibly strong-willed woman who goes outside of the bounds of society to get done what she needs to get done.
Right. So I think Eloise didn't realize until that very moment. And you kind of see how different she plays things in season 3 because of that. Yeah. Because she does realize that how she comports herself in society will affect Francesca, and she comes out like, I mean, her her Hollywood counterpart, because they designed everybody around, was Katharine Hepburn, not Catherine.
Rita Hayworth? No.
Audrey Hepburn. Audrey
thank you.
Hepburn. They said Francesca was like Katharine Hepburn, the way they did her sleeves and stuff. But and because they were no relation. But they were out at the same time in Hollywood, and these are sisters. And I think that you see this maturity in Eloise in season 3, and mainly that's her goal is just to play the game like Benedict does, so that Francesca has her best match. Because Eloise is like, as long as she's focused on Francesca, and I mind my P's and Q's, Francesca will get the best match she can, and Violet will leave me alone. And I think that because Hyacinth has a few years to go, Eloise is going to know. I think that's why she wanted to get out of Dodge. And she wanted adventure, because she's already done the thing, like her oldest brother that she relates to the most, Benedict. She had a fling outside of society with Theo. So she's already done that. And now the going to Scotland is doing something her other brother did, because she wants to do what her brothers do. She wants to feel like she's able to do what they do. And now she's traveling like Colin did, but in a way that is okay for women to travel.
I think Theo surprised her.
And I think it's also to get away from her mother.
I think Theo surprised her, because I think she maybe thought that maybe she wasn't asexual per se, but she was just too intellectual for the men of the 1800s, and that they would never accept her.
Well, the men she knew.
That's what I'm saying.
The men she knew of the 1800s,
when she came across a man who valued her intelligence, that's why she's a demisexual, because she felt things for the first time in her life that she didn't think that she was even able to feel. Because I think part of it is because he was outside of the bounds of the ton as well, so there was some safety in knowing that she wouldn't have to marry him. So I think that it allowed her to break out of her shell a little bit more.
I don't think she looked at it, not until her conversation with Penn at that wedding, was she really looking at it like it could be something like that. I think she saw him as a friend. And if you look at Benedict's whole relationship with Genevieve, all he ever said in front of Eloise was that this was his friend. Yeah. My very good friend. And she thought that Theo was her very good friend. And funny, he's a worker. He is in a print shop, and Genevieve is a worker, and she is a seamstress.
But then
it's very similar to Benedict.
But then the second that he tried to kiss her, she was like, "Oh no!"
Right.
Right. And it's not necessarily that she didn't want to. It was just that she had drilled into her proper etiquette. And I think she had misread what friendship looked like with Genevieve and Benedict, because she was never taught the birds and the bees. She didn't know how babies came to be and all those things.
The moment Theo went to kiss her, she realized that Benedict saying friend was in quotes.
Friend.
My very special friend.
Friends don't just read books together, Eloise. They do more.
And then she realized, Benedict can have a friend like that, but I don't have that luxury. No. Because what Benedict does is not going to affect Colin, because Colin is a man. Colin has his own money, Bridgerton money. Gregory is a man, but Gregory has Bridgerton money. And yes, she has a dowry, but what she does, and she doesn't plan on getting married, so what she does affects Francesca and affects Hyacinth. So you can see her maturity.
If they get affected and they don't marry well, then she's got no backup house to go live at other than Antony, and that just doesn't sound like a good time.
Well, she has Daphne, but her and Daphne don't get along that well. No. I mean, she literally would be relying on Benedict at some point. Benedict, I think if she stayed a spinster, she would be living with Benedict at some point.
I think Francesca.
I think Antony would, because she'd need to be with the man because she's a spinster, unless Francesca's husband was willing to take her under his purse string. But I think Antony would give Benedict a stipend just for Eloise, and Eloise would live with Benedict.
That they would have they would have Eloise as the governess.
With Penn, I think Penn, they could have Eloise as a governess. I think her other option would be to live with Colin and Penn. Yeah. But that would be great and weird at the same time. And I don't think she would choose that. I think she would choose Benedict.
Honeymoon phase, maybe.
Yeah, I think, and somebody posted today about the brothers going and beating up Sir Philip, because now that Colin has met him, like, it changes everything, because Colin would be like, there's no way Philip compromised her. He's only about plants. Like, he's not going to do anything like that. and then they get there and find out it happened, and I think we're
That's
gonna
when he
see
loses
Colin.
it. Like, you
I
tricked
think
me into
Colin,
thinking you were a
yeah,
completely different person, and
yeah.
now I'm
And he's gonna
mad.
be like, and like,
And now
you
I'm
made me
hungry and
leave
mad.
my wife. Yeah, leave my wife. And people are like, but yeah, but it'll be like 2 years out. So he won't miss his wife like he newly married Colin did. I was like,
Mm.
I don't think so. Colin is very much that man that he's a Darcy. He's like, I never want to be parted from you from this day forth.
Well, I mean, I'm 12 years deep with Stephen, and I still don't want to be parted. Like, we were separated for only, what, 3 days when he went up to Auckland for his cousin's wedding, and I'm like, that's three too many.
Yeah, I think the Colin and Penn and Nicholas said this. They're going to be together every day of their lives until they're old, and they're going to die on the same day. Like they have that kind of
The
relationship. And
saddest thing in the world was when we had to put my yaya, my grandma, in a locked ward to get her tested because she got so sick, but she refused to go to the doctors. She hadn't been in like 20 years. So we had to put her in a ward. It was a dementia ward because we couldn't figure out with a regular doctor what was
wrong.
dementia and what was actual pain, and that because it really gets confusing. And from the day that we put her in there to when she died was 3 weeks. And Bapu he like broke down with me one day, my granddad, and he was really upset with us for putting her in there, but not because he was living in denial, but mostly it was because he said, aside from when I flew up to Wellington for my brother's funeral, he's like, I've been together with that woman every single night for 50 years, and now you've separated us. And I'm like, I know, Bapu, and I like so
Mm,
desperately don't want to, but we can't give her the pain medication that she needs, to keep her
mm,
comfortable. And that's not fair to her. Like, you can visit her all day, up until you go to sleep, but she needs this more than she needs you right now. Like, she needs you to support her through this. But it was so heartbreaking
yeah.
he's like, 50 years. We haven't been separated for 50 years, and now we're separated, and that was really hard for him.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would relationship like that or if I would be able
Oh,
from
it's
someone.
it's it's Greek, very different.
Oh no, I very much have a friend lost their grandparent 6 months apart. The same,
Mm.
like wife passed away months later,
And he said to me
husband
all the
passed
time,
away.
like, I wish I went with her. Like, I don't want to be separated from her. And that's
Yeah.
why I put in such a huge effort for the last 10 years, because I promised her that I would take care of him. And I saw him every single week without fail, up to like 4 times a week. But at a very, very minimum, every single Friday, I'd pick him up and take him out and shopping and things he needed, because like he needed a person, and I was his person.
Yeah. And it built, I mean, look at all the memories you have of,
I'm gonna need a minute.
yeah, breath.
Grief is not linear, and sometimes it just you.
No, and that, like, darn you, Bridget, because there's literally, I've done so much crying, Bridgerton. And it's not because it's Bridgerton, it's just that the relationships, all of them are written so well that you see things like understanding the dynamics of how the kids would have been after the death of a parent
Yeah.
is very similar to what, how I grew up and when my mom and dad split. And, the older siblings are all grown up and moved out. So, like, my sister and we parented, we made sure that, I mean, my mom was there, but she was a single mom trying to make it work. We had to become responsible for things. We were more like the Featherings though, because we were a team, me, my mom, and my sister. Like,
Hmm.
we all had to figure out where from. So, but that's how Bridgerton is, like watching the decline, what she lived with King in Queen
Yeah.
Charlotte, like,
That one hit me really hard from watching my yaya kind of lose her memory, and like
mm-hmm,
it was a kindness in a way that it never progressed. Like, the cancer took her before the dementia really took her from us, but those last few weeks when she was on really heavy medication to keep her pain management down, like, she knew who we were, but she didn't, and she'd get really confused, and that was like very similar, very, very similar to how George was at the end. And that's why when I
yeah.
watch it, I just sob.
Well, and
Same as the Notebook.
the under the bed thing, like, I've
Yeah.
told this story before, but my mom basically chemo brain, but she was also on a pain med for years that
Yeah.
is known to mess with
Battle.
your
Yeah.
synapses,
Yeah.
neurotin,
Yeah.
and so her memory went, and I lived out of state. So when I came home, she recognized me. You could tell, like, she was comfortable around me. She talked to me. She never used my name though. Like, The last 2 years of her life, she never used my name until the last weekend I was visiting because I was giving my sister a break. And so I was sleeping in my mom's room because my sister was at the point where there was a lot of nights she was having to sleep in my mom's room because my mom was forgetting how to stand up, forgetting how to get into the bathroom to go to the bathroom, right? So I was in there, I stayed the weekend, and it's the dumbest thing, but rolling over and coughing. And I mean, I have a Facebook post I see every year where I go, my mom said my name, like she recognized me, and she was like, Patty. And I had not realized how long because I called her every day. I called her every day for years, but I called her every day. When I moved to Tennessee, I called her every day. Driving home, driving to work, whatever, called her every day. And it got to the point like we'd talk forever. And then it was like 5 minutes. And then she'd be handing the phone to Mindy. And then I found out from my sister that she called me that girl down south. Oh, is that girl down south? And it's really devastating and heartbreaking. So that's why Queen Charlotte broke me for that reason, because I watched that and like he recognized her briefly for that moment. And it's like, oh.
You live those moments, but they also kind of wish that they just disappear in a way because it just prolongs the hurt sort of thing in a way. Dementia is an incredibly cruel way to lose your loved ones. Their body is still
you
there,
lose them long before you lose.
You have to go through 2 stages of grief: losing them as a person and then losing their vessel, which is what you hold on to well past when they're really gone. But it's why I struggle to I desperately I honestly think that Queen Charlotte is the pinnacle of Bridgerton. It is the best season because of how much it made you feel. But I can't rewatch it. It's not, so there's different levels. There's ones that just touch your heart so completely and utterly, but you don't want to rewatch it. And then you've got ones like season 3 for me that I absolutely adore. I think they're just about perfect and I can rewatch it over and over and over again. But I think I think a really, really good story is one that you can empathize with and see parts of it and it makes you feel something, and that's what makes us love Bridgerton so much is we can each identify with a character or a story or a love,
Well, and season 3 there's so much in it that is so Smaugana's story that it just, it grabbed. And I knew it would. I knew from reading the book, like they knew each other for a long time. They knew each other so well. And they even, to me, as you read, they're the couple that stay like coupley
with each other.
Like honeymoon period kind of thing. And but yeah, that's just the writing of Bridgerton and
like my little schnookums.
How beautiful it is as I'm trying to talk you through it, like so you could have your moment, like but yeah, back to the Sib. And I think like we've already seen how Anthony was way too aggressive with Daphne. He barely even acknowledged Eloise was out on the mart. And Francesca, I think he kind of got it right with Francesca, like giving her a little, a little bit of rope, but being close. Well, and I think that he disappeared. Like he started, like he didn't want to be responsible yet.
He fumbled the second half. Like when it really mattered and Lord Samadani was showing interest, he gave his brothers yes, he trusted his mum, but his mum only has limited power within the town because she's a woman. He gave his brothers, where was it? He put all this trust in Benedict, and Benedict did do a wonderful job on the bookwork side of things, but not when it came to actually being there to be that male in the household for his siblings and specifically his sisters, because where was he?
Well, and I
left it to Gregory,
the family dog. I think he was leaving it to Colin. He assumed Colin would be that person because Violet did come into the study and say, Samadani's coming today. Are you going to make an appearance? Yeah. So I think the thought process was that was going to be Colin, but nobody understood that Colin was going. No, Colin is the family guy. He's the one that just steps in. I think he just stepped in when Edmund passed away. And so I think they just assumed because Colin is kind of that empathetic person, like he's an empath, that he would just know where he was needed, but he was going through his own stuff. Yeah. And so, yeah. it ended up being Gregory. It's
Like,
the only man in that room.
that's one of the things about season three is that I find really odd is they kind of really fumbled that whole Samadani. Like, we're just supposed to expect that she didn't drink the lemonade and he all of a sudden just gave up hope. Like, he just, oh, she doesn't want my lemonade. We'll call it quits. We're done ski.
I think Samadani and the prince knew each other, and it's like, oh, like
I've
it's
been
like
through this, bro.
if a Bridgerton man hovers around a woman, like everyone else follows, right? But I
Yeah,
think there's also a knowledge out there that if a Bridgerton woman has made eyes at someone else, you're done.
done. You're
Like,
done
I
skis.
think the prince was like, dude, if she even gives two glances, if
Well,
she looks across the
theoretically, they're
room at
somewhat
anyone,
related,
it's
right?
not you.
Samadani
Huh?
and the prince would potentially be related in some sort of,
Oh, in that period of time, just about every royal in every country
yeah.
across Europe laid in
They're
some way,
sitting
shape,
they're
or
sitting
form.
at the equivalent of whites together being like, those Bridgerton girls.
Those Bridgerton bitches.
Yeah. Well, yep.
You know, they're having their own conversation. I
Yeah,
think it would have been funny. I like,
they're
I,
passing. They've got the pity whiskey for sure, and they were like, "I need it more. I was gonna get the diamond of the season.
wouldn't it be, but wouldn't it be
I got the
hilarious
sparkler."
if Traveler Colin goes on another trip, like say him and Penn go on a trip and they overhear men commiserating.
Yeah,
It's Debling, the prince, and Samadani all at a table.
those Bridgertons have thwarted us one too many times.
And Penn is like, get out of here.
Yeah,
We need to bounce.
yeah.
Let's go, Colin.
What's their what do you call it, this safe word,
So that, yeah, the get out of
orc,
society free
orc.
card.
Grass.
It's gonna be grass. It's gonna be grass.
It's gonna be
My toes,
grass.
my toes need to touch grass. No, she'll probably say, Colin, let's go to contemplate some grass. That's Colin. I think we need to go contemplate some grass together.
I saw some really fresh strands of grass outside. Let's go contemplate upon them.
Let's go
Get
contemplate
me
upon
out.
the grass.
Yeah. No. So
Yeah, like get me out of here.
yeah. So it's quite interesting how much Eloise kind of butted against Daphne in the first season, and then I think she is really coming to terms with what it means to be a woman in society now. I think season one she was so anti it all. Season two she was like, I'm not even
And
taking
I think
part of
that's why
it.
we have her. I think that's why we have her in the drawing room with Posey and Rosamond. And
Yeah.
Hyacinth is with her because she is the older sister. She's the
Yes.
only older sister left. And what she does in the ton affects
Ex
only Hyacinth now. So
yes.
she's decided to take Hyacinth under her wing.
It's interesting. Like, I can definitely see how Hyacinth ends up that spunky character from the books where she's like basically like a little Benedict Cumberbatch. Like she's Sherlock Holmes in the ton,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, like where Sherlock Holmes picks up on all the clues, like she picks up on every little whisper of gossip, every sideways glance. She is the new Lady Whistledown sort of thing, but she doesn't write about it. She just, information is knowledge to her, and she just wants all of the knowledge, because that is her power.
But I see her like leaving that drawing room because you see the look on her face, like, oh my gosh, these girls. And I bet you she
Let
runs
me
right
go
across
fetch
the
my
square.
watercolors.
She just runs right across the square and tells Penelope everything.
Yes.
Like, I can't wait to see that. They need to create give me a Felicity. Give me Felicity or give me death. I need a Felicity.
I hope that
Not for real.
Penelope's,
I don't want to die.
I hope that Penelope, I think it's within their realms to create a Felicity that Penelope's going to sponsor a cousin that's come to town, a younger
Yeah.
cousin. Like, there's definitely a way to do it and still have her. And I can understand why they didn't want 4 Featherington girls, because like that is a lot, like it's extra cast and it's probably is a little bit superfluous, but they can still add her as a cousin, sort of Marina,
It's
but less
also
scandalous.
with all the ramblings also about there doesn't need
Ooh,
to be a
ooh, ooh, ooh,
Hyacinth
ooh,
or Gregory
ooh.
season. I think
And
that's another reason
if she's
Felicity
younger,
is.
if Felicity's a little bit younger than Hyacinth, then she can marry Nick, just to
Mhm.
tie the whole pretty picture together.
Except I think Felicity's abs kind of is our that we're probably not going to have a Hyacinth.
No, they literally said that at the start it was just too much
casting
cast
and people, yeah.
and she wasn't going to be necessary until the very, very end. They didn't know if it was going to go that far, so there was just no point paying for an
Well, and
extra
they
cast
already
member.
had
And
they brought in Marina, so they could easily bring in everybody.
yeah, yeah, and the
And
way
I
that the
think Penn would. I
yeah,
think
I
Penn
think
would
she
want to
would
rub it in
too.
her mother's face, like, watch me bring in a ward and do it better than you.
Yes, yes, very much so. So there's definitely a way to make it happen and still make it make sense.
Well, oh, I think if we do have a side story thing, or if we have a Portia story and we see some origins of, coming from
Hmm.
Cornwall and everything, we find out there's a family there and that there's a young, also smart, like, let's give her a leg up in the world. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I could see that playing out very much like a Mansfield Park kind of thing.
Yeah, I still need
For
to watch it.
sure. It's got
I
Johnny
need
Lee
to write
Miller
down the
in
things that I
it.
need to watch.
It's got
I love that you think it is. You're adorable.
He was the American Sherlock.
Which means I probably didn't.
He was in, it wasn't called Sherlock. Elementary.
Elementary.
Yeah.
I've seen maybe like shorts of it online, maybe,
Yeah.
but
He was the Sherlock in Elementary to Liz Watts.
okay. I think I might have seen some skits of it, but haven't actually watched it.
And I still want to see the show. Played a lawyer,
I
and it only
hate
lasted like
musicals.
half a season.
I mean, I
Oh my
love the
God.
sound of music. That is my exception
We're
to the
done.
rule.
We're can't.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can't.
Like Sweeney Todd, I rented it out and then they started singing and I was like, nope, nope, off.
Sweeney Todd is so good too.
And because
The Demon by the Fleet Street.
and what was not Pride and Prejudice, Leonardo DiCaprio, Romeo and Juliet. That was like, even that was just nah, not my vibe. No, it wasn't musical, but it was like very stage-y, like very, it seemed more like a play.
It was modernized with the guns. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just the gangster
It's a Baz
talk.
Luhrmann thing.
The gangster
Baz
talk.
Luhrmann thing. Yeah.
I could not, would not, should not put myself through that. It was torture. I've honestly tried. I've tried like 6 or 7 times. Like, and there is an older version of Romeo and Juliet, isn't there?
There's a few Romeo and Juliets, and there's one coming out. I think Netflix.
Okay.
Juliet.
Because I want one that I actually enjoy, and I've honestly tried to watch it, I think 5 or 6 times, and I get like 15 minutes in, and I'm like, I can't deal with this language.
I liked Romeo and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann's, Claire Danes, and Leonardo DiCaprio because having the guns and having them like it's still the play, it's still the lines from the play, but they are doing it because they are treating it like it's two rival gangs, and it helped me understand it a lot better. I mean, I love Shakespeare, and I can read most of them and follow the story, but Romeo and Juliet was hard.
I'm surprised that there is no
but
Romeo and
seeing
Juliet.
that version of it helped me.
I'm surprised that out of all the tropes that Julia Quinn went for, that there was no Romeo and Juliet out of all of it. Not really.
She wanted to have one of the couple die.
Well,
because remember, the only dead couple we have, but he was dead from the start of the book. We knew he was dead going in. It's Jess Brownell that made him real to us.
Well, you know what? They could have made it Romeo and Juliet, and then he ends up with the cousin because he was in love with the cousin to start with anyway, like Juliet's cousin. So kind of fits,
right? Kind of fits. But I think like we're gonna see a lot with Midsummer Night's Dream and season. I think we're gonna see Shakespearean.
Yeah,
stuff
I really
in
need to.
Because of,
if you've got a version of that
you
recommend to our listeners / me, is it just one version or is there a few?
Much Ado About Nothing is my favorite. And that was a Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. She did that with Kenneth Branagh before she wrote. Well, I think she was writing Sense and Sensibility when they filmed that, and that was fabulous. Love her. And she's brilliant. It has Keanu Reeves in it. He's like the prince, and he's like dark, like broody. Mm-hmm. It's so good. But there is a Midsummer Night's Dream that's out there, and I think Helen Carter. But that I could just be thinking that because there's a character in Helen, and I love Play Within a Play, Dead Poet Society.
I loved Dead Poet Society. I did a full.
They were doing Midsummer Night's Dream. He was Puck.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't watched it since I was 15 because I did a film analysis.
Seriously, not a film or Night's Dream. Dreaming it. I'm not finding
dream.
It. I was yes, Midsummer. Yeah, it's got Kevin Kline, Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, I remember this. Rupert Everett, Stanley Tucci was Puck.
Stanley
Callista
Tucci,
Flockhart.
fantastic.
Callista
He's timeless.
Callista Flockhart was Helena, and I was picturing her, but I said Helena Bonham
Yeah,
Carter,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that's my fault.
I love that people think that like Stanley Tucci plays a gay man
Christian Bale
so
was in it.
successfully that
Dominic West was Lysander, and Christian Bale was Demetrius.
okay.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
so
they're
many
all
good
Greek
people.
names.
David Strathairn.
All right, let's move
Sam
along.
Rockwell was Francis Flute.
At this point, it's going to be a
Yeah.
three-parter.
Well,
No
who's I
surprises
mean,
here.
I mean,
Because
well,
I
we've talked about Benedict, Eloise. I mean, we've talked about a lot. We've talked about
no
Benedict,
no
Eloise, and Colin.
we haven't not talked about the relationship between Eloise and Colin specifically, and then Benedict and Eloise specifically. Those are our two big heavy
We
hitter
talked
kind
about
of
Eloise. Well, and I mean, I
not
did. I
not in
talked about how
detail.
she tried to be like them.
Yeah, but not them
Little
like their
friendship.
actual relationship dynamic. It was more about her. It's more about Eloise and how she is coming to terms. And to be honest, I actually don't see
Coming to
that she
terms with
wants
being
to.
a woman.
I don't think she wants to be like her brothers because, well, sorry, I don't think she wants to do all the things that her brothers can do because, like, I think to her, like, the idea of going to White's and sitting around and discussing women and scotch and who's got the biggest
I don't think
boobs, which
she knows that happens.
no, but like it's sort of a little bit like Wedge the season three, she tries to give
I think she wants
being a
to be able to
debutante.
come and go.
I think this season where she gives a hand at trying to be a debutante and trying to fit in with society and okay, maybe I'll give these girls a chance. Maybe I'm just being a judgmental cow without even getting to know them. And then she gets to know them and she was like, nope, the cow was right. It goes moo.
Well, no, I think like the whole conversation between her and Colin with Penn, where he goes, you guys read Don Quixote and you wanted to be knights, and she
Yeah.
said she was so upset when she realized, or when she was told they couldn't learn fencing.
Yes.
She wanted to be able to do what her brothers could do. She wanted to be able to come and go.
She wanted the option.
See, I think she's almost the equivalent of penis envy, but
Yeah.
not in the way it was meant to be in the 90s.
No.
I think that she wishes she was that kid that was like, why was I born a girl? Why couldn't I have been born a boy?
That was
you know
me.
what I mean? Like, yeah, like
me.
I see that as, and I think she emulated what she thought Benedict's relationship was with Genevieve.
Yeah.
Until it could have become what Benedict's relationship with Genevieve was. And then she's like, whoa, wait a minute. And I think she's emulating Colin's love of travel. Like, to her, that's almost the only, I mean, I think she's very antagonistic to Colin, and she views him like he's more of a girl than she is. I almost can feel like she probably said those words to him when she's like 10 or 11, like, you're more of a girl than me.
Yeah.
You're so sensitive. But I think that that's the most manly thing he ever did in her eyes, and she wants to do it too. And that's why she came up with the brilliant plan that she was going to travel to Scotland and she was going to see new places and get out of her little box, because that's what she saw. Her interpretation of what Colin did was Colin got out of his box. He was in a box called Colin Bridgerton in the Ton, and he escaped it. So she's doing the same thing. And she's really not, for somebody who supposedly writes, she's not very creative. She just keeps copying what other people have done or are doing.
Well, when you think about how she responded to him, like think about season 2, he comes back and she's like, Colin's been away. He's been writing to me and God, he just rolls on. Like she thinks it's the most uninteresting thing in the world. Yes. And then season 3, he comes back and she's like, ew, who are you? What is this person? Like, I don't like this at all. So, I mean, there's the part of her that like, I think she's also a little bit on the tism of like, I like things being the way that I expect them to be. And I
don't understand why people don't think the way I do. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that she has these ideals of, I would like to have these options, but when the options are then presented to them, she's like, ew, what's this? I don't want this.
See, I don't think she was like, ew. I think
not
she
ew,
was
but like
oh.
No, I didn't mean ill. Like what I mean is more so, I was just being silly with it. But like, I think the idea is greater than the actual reality for her. She just wants the option to be able to choose it. I think it's just that she hates having her options stripped away from her just because of what's between her legs. That's what she struggles with. It's not that, and I mean, this has been the plight of women for the last 200 years, and America is currently going through this. And oh, would you look at that? New Zealand has decided to follow suit. And not that I have said this much to you in chats thus far, but New Zealand is now copying and taking away basically all of women's rights, and especially mothers. And it's bam, bam, bam.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that outside of
Yeah.
um
But I mean,
but
that is
no, I think
the woman's plight forever is that we deserve to have our options. We deserve to have equal options as every other person out there, and we should not be persecuted. We should not have men be able to make decisions for us medically, financially. We are, even if you're in a marriage or a partnership or whatever, key term partner, which means equal, which means 50-50. You both have the same amount of say in a relationship. And I think that is what Eloise struggles with so much, is that Colin and Benedict squander a lot of their choices in life by
privilege. Mhm.
yeah, and they completely underestimate. But I think on the flip side, Eloise thinks that having these choices would make life perfect, when that's not the reality. You can have all the choices in the world, and that's amazing and fantastic, and it is what we all deserve, but it doesn't make everything perfect, you know?
Well, I think that so many things back then were pigeonholed too. Like
Yes.
you're looking at two brothers who are a second and a third, and legitimately that is military and clergy, and they don't
Yeah.
want to be military or clergy. So they're struggling with what their purpose is because they're not the firstborn son.
Yeah.
And the only person that mattered in a family was the firstborn son. Everybody else was just fluff.
Yes.
And flounder, and they got to figure their stuff out. But
You were
I
just
I
scraps,
think that
spare meat.
I think that because Eloise did not plan to marry, I think she expected to be a spinster, but she didn't want to be a spinster. She wanted to be kind of like Miss Stacy and Anne with an E. Like she wanted to be
Yes. Yes.
an educator. She
Yes.
wanted to be educated. She wanted to be that pioneer. I
I
want to be
think
the first
she
woman to
want
get to go to Oxford.
I
I
think
want to be that
she
first woman that gets to go to Eton. I
yes.
want to do the same things my brothers did because
I wonder
Daphne was the princess. Daphne wanted to grow up and be a wife and a mother. And Eloise was like watching her three older brothers do all these things, getting to do things she couldn't do, and being told, you can't do that because you're a girl.
if
And that was probably like the worst thing ever said to me as a kid, and I still hate this word to this day,
mm-hmm.
is that is unacceptable. What you're doing is unacceptable. I
Yeah.
hate the word unacceptable. I think for Eloise, being told she can't do something because she's a girl was like the worst thing you could ever say to her. And so I think she was delving in and trying to have as many similar experiences to her brothers as she could while she could get away with it. And when she realized she wasn't going to get away with it and it was going to affect everybody else, then she's like, oh, that's what Daphne meant. That's what Penn was saying. And we see a different her in season 3, towing the line, minding her P's and Q's for Francesca's sake, I think, and because she needs to find a friend because she doesn't have Penn. But then I think what we're going to see in season 4 is her really kind of be a mentor to Hyacinth. Like, see what this is like? Come in the drawing room with me as I entertain these ladies.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you
hear my
think?
dogs?
Are you entertaining Daisy?
So yeah, the dogs were not putting in their 2 cents about Ella,
Lily
Colin, and
is.
Benedict.
Lily's got big opinions right now. Let me just go fetch her. You keep talking.
So that's my 2 cents, though. I think Eloise absolutely wanted to do whatever her brothers were doing because she wanted to be able to claim she did something that she couldn't do, even though she was a girl. But she stopped herself right when she realized it was going to go too far. Which hurt her relationship with Theo. And I think that's also, besides the Whistledown thing, I think that's also why she got so mad at Penelope when she found out Penelope was Whistledown, because in that moment, she stopped herself when maybe she didn't want to, and coming to the realization of what a friendship meant to Benedict as well. But she stopped herself because what if Whistledown found out? What if it got out in Whistledown and she harmed her family? And then she found out that her estest friend ever was Whistledown, and she could have had that experience, and now she can't because Theo's mad at her and he felt rejected. And so I think part of her anger at Penn was not just that she kept a secret from her, was not just that she never told her. I think she put her heartbreak over Theo and how that ended and how she comported herself on Penelope's shoulders, because she could have had an experience that she believed she wanted.
Yeah.
If she would have known Penn was Whistledown, because she could have been like, hey, And the fact that Penn was saying, hey, people are talking about you.
Yeah.
You know, like she understood now what Penn was about, but
Yeah.
she's not looking at it like Penn was trying to protect her. She was like, you could have protected me. You were my friend.
Yeah.
You didn't have to. So she felt controlled. She felt like Penn was controlling her
Yeah.
and manipulating her. And that's where she was more mad about stuff. So I think Eloise wanted to kiss Theo. She stopped herself because of the possibility of it getting out of Whistledown. And then she's mad at Penn, not because Penn was Whistledown and never told her, because if she would have known that Penn was Whistledown in that moment, she would have kissed Theo. And she lost an experience that she wanted, that she believed like it was outside of the ton. It was, and I think that's why we have season 3 and her going through that whole thing of, no, I was reckless and all this stuff. And then she's having the conversation with Penn. I think she comes to the realization of, and we don't see that scene where she goes to see Theo, and I think they're going to use it later. But if we put that scene, that potential scene in here, she realizes Theo was not going to be the one. It was just going to create a whole bunch of problems. And she understands now at this point that Penelope was trying to protect her. And I think as their friendship grows, now that they're both on the same page, we're gonna see more of that. Like you said, like you ruined your life all the time to save Colin, to save me, right? Like I think there needs to be a conversation between Colin and Eloise in season 4, much like the train with Gilbert and Diana and Anne with an E, where Eloise is like, no, sir, she saved you. She saved me. She ruined herself and her family to do it. You need to slow your roll and think about this. Like there's going to come a time, because they haven't fully talked it out. I think they had their talk in the street, but it wasn't really hashed out because they, you know, as most fights do, when there's passion, like it ended. That was not a kiss and make up. We'll just say that. So I think it's going to come back up, and I think Eloise is going to give him a little perspective.
I think we need more closure where
we need that closure. Yeah.
Where Lady Whistledown is concerned on both Eloise's and on Colin's side. But I do think that knowing what kind of person Eloise is, I think that she is actually going to go back through and read every single prior article. And
I think it's going to play into everything that happens with her and Sir Philip and her running away, because she thinks Penn's going to protect her.
Yeah.
I think she's like, I can do this. My bestie is the gossip columnist.
Got my back.
She's got my back. She's not going to say nothing. Or because Penn's already married, because remember in the books, they're both going through their stuff at the same time.
Yes.
Penn's already married. So what if Penn's like, I'm the
go live your best life, girl.
Writes the news. Go. This will not get out. Just go. That would be amazing. I would love it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's going to be very interesting how it kind of plays out. But you know how, like, I mean, exactly as we do with the season, it's different when you're experiencing something for the first time and you're experiencing it through the experience of your immediate emotions versus when you go back and rewatch or reread and you then notice all those details that you missed the first time because one, you didn't have the whole picture because you hadn't read to the end yet. So you go back and then that's where well, for me personally, that's when I kind of realized the beauty of a book or movie or TV series or whatever is usually on my rewatch or re-listen or whatever. And it's because I'm not reading to get to the end of the story as fast as possible because I like want to devour it. It's because I want those little details. And I think that's going to be the difference between Eloise experiencing Lady Whistledowns as they came out versus
and then going back and rereading
and then because then she reread them all when she was trying to figure out Whistledown versus I'm now reading it through the lens of knowing Penelope. It's going to be a completely different read for her and it's going to give her a lot more perspective.
Right. And I think she's going to, I want to see it. I think it's going to be Colin that perspective.
Yes. Because I don't think Colin's the kind.
She saved us.
I don't think Colin's the kind to go back and reread through them all. He is someone who he will think through them, but he won't have that crisp clarity of actually rereading. He's not someone who wants to live in the past and rehash things. He just kind of wants to barrel forward and ignore them, as we know from the books. Like the whole Lady Whistledown thing, he didn't even want to admit to Penelope in the first place. It was literally like she nagged and he still wouldn't acknowledge
But Show Colin is different because like he went to Marina's because he felt responsible and he wanted to make sure she was okay. And then, but I think it's very telling because he's living in the home. He's married and living in the home with the Lady Whistledown.
Yes.
Like, she has Whistledown somewhere. And when he's done with fighting and he wants to make up. Like, that's the look on his face when he realizes she's given up and she's just like, this is my life now. Okay, fine. And he's like, I'm done with this. I'm done fighting. He doesn't seek out Lady Whistledown. He sought out her letter. Like, he went into his desk drawer and he's looking through his stuff and he found her letter. He wasn't looking, he wanted her voice, not Whistledown. Yes. And he realized her voice was Whistledown's. And I think that's very telling for him because he wanted to forgive her. He sought her out, not Whistledown. Because I think if he would have picked up some Whistledowns, he would have gotten mad.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take Eloise rereading, like you said. I think Eloise rereads them. And
Eloise is the one who's always looking for clarity and for more information on things. She wants the whole picture. She wants all the knowledge. Yeah, because
she found one in her desk. She found one in her desk and it was the first one. And she read it. She goes, that really is clever. Like, and she knows that Penelope saved them in that moment from Cressida's whole thing. So yeah. I think that Colin still doesn't even view that as Penelope was saving them because that's when he found out and is just that mad.
Yeah.
So I think Eloise is going to have to bring him around because they're the two, man, they hold grudges forever.
Must be Greek, somewhere in the lineage.
Well, I think it's because they're middle children too. Like they're just every slight just lasts forever with them. But they know each other so well. Like, have you forgiven her? I want to. And he doesn't even question that. Like, be mad as long as you're going to be mad.
Yeah.
And she's like, what was his condition? Fury. She's like, well, crap.
Yep.
Like, they just know each other. They're the tempers of all 8 kids. Like, I mean, Anthony's got a pretty good temper.
I don't think Benedict has any temper. I think Benedict is Stephen in the way that, like, there's not much that actually really phases them in life. So if you have pushed them to temper, they have stewed on something for a very long time and been pushed and pushed and pushed. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to get to
me.
I think we're going to see that a little bit in season 4. I think we're going to see
that's my authentic me because I definitely with my ex, like, my fuse got super, but I'm that I'm super, like, it takes me a long time to get mad, but when I do, oh my gosh, you need to
just put me on the road with stupid drivers and then you'll see my temper.
Yeah.
Di knows what it's like, okay? Australian drivers, we're just a whole different breed. Like, we hate
American drivers.
No, but Australian drivers are really assertive. Get where you're going, take the turn, don't second guess, get out of the way. Everything's meant to flow the way that it's supposed to. So when we've got people who, like, Christchurch has a really elderly population, and so we have people who they could have gone 5 times over, but I'll just sit here and maybe there'll be a gap for 10 cars and then I'll fit. And I'm sitting there like, I'm going to expire before you make this turn, like,
I got honked at because I didn't move fast enough today. And then somebody, how
Really
somebody
petty.
like acts, they're right next to you. And then it looks like this dude decided to let me over, but never let me know they were letting me over.
Yeah.
So by the time I get over and I finally get to look in front of me, it's a red light and the guy in front of me stopped. I'm like, this was almost an accident. Thanks, guy.
Yeah. I mean, those situations happen. All right, let's
that's what your hands are. Like,
I want to. How are we going for an hour 30? Okay, we're an hour 37. I think we have time to actually squeeze in our favorite scene, sibling scene, which is swing set.
Yeah. And I think the swing sets play into my whole thing of her wishing she could do what her brothers do because she's always telling him, like, she is Benedict's perspective.
Yes.
Like, you have the luxury to do this. Like, kind of like Penn's argument with Colin after the wedding, like, you can be whomever you want to be and you're choosing to just, you are now. Like, that's on you.
I think Benedict's freedom is his free spirit is what also makes Eloise the way that she, not makes her, like, it encourages her. I think having a brother like Benedict is what encourages her to chase her dreams of going to Scotland and making all the plans and just telling people the plans so that they have no choice but to just go along with it. And that's kind of Eloise to a T, is just like,
right,
let
me tell you my plan and
let me tell you.
But I think too, now that we have Benedict, like, he went through his I don't want to say gender fluid, but he's just very more open and stuff like that. I don't think he looks at Eloise necessarily like a girl. Like, no. I think he looked at Daphne like Daphne was a girl. She was a young woman. Yeah. But I think Eloise he views differently. I almost think like Edmund viewed her differently. And I promise you, the person that told Eloise that she could not learn fencing was not Violet and not Edmund. I think it was a governor.
Yeah.
And she was mad, and it was probably after Edmund left, or after
I
Edmund
was
passed
like,
away,
he
right?
left?
He
He went
left
out.
the
He went
earth.
out for milk and cigarettes, never returned.
That's a side story.
Yeah. So
But yeah,
really
like I think that a governor said it, but Benedict has always been her champion. They've always been very close. And I think like Daphne and Colin were close, and she was the first counterpart girl after Daphne. So that became Benedict's like, and I can attest to how that works.
Benedict just likes her spunk. I think he loves that she
yes, but
doesn't fit the expectation.
There's like natural correlations. Like Daphne and Anthony have their relationship because of being the first, but Daphne also has a relation with Colin because they parentified after Edmund passed school. But I also think like in my family, we had my older sister, then my two brothers who were very close in age because we were a blended family. They're actually only 28 days apart, but they came both of my parents' marriages. Then there was me and my sister who were very close in age, but we're like 6 years younger than them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one brother, I get along with one brother. Okay. I get along with the other brother a little less. We tend to fight more. My sister gets along with the other brother, the one I'm antagonistic with, she gets along with. So we got paired up a lot. Like the parents paired up the ones who get along. And that's a normal thing.
Yeah.
So I think that Benedict and Eloise were very similar personalities. I think they got paired up. I think Colin and Daphne paired up for a while until Daphne hit an age where she had to really focus on her duties as the eldest daughter. What surprises
me is that we never saw Benedict saving, a quotation marks, Eloise on the dance floor when her mum in season 2 was pushing how you need to dance, and Benedict's like, why? Let me oblige. And then you'd have kind of the moment between Portia and Penelope with Marina, where Penelope is trying to save Marina and her mum's like, Penelope, get out of here. You would kind of get that from Violet to Benedict being like, Benedict, no, she's got suitors to dance with.
Was Benedict even there though?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I wish we got those scenes where Benedict is just completely going against his mum's wishes and be like, I wish to dance with my sister. Thank you, mother. You know, like, I wish that we got those scenes because I think it would have been hilarious. And I mean, I think it would have been great.
It would have been a nice little mirror from season 1 where Anthony made him go out and dance with Daphne and he didn't want to.
Yes.
Like, but he would just be saving Eloise all the time.
Is it because is Luke Newton not a very good dancer? Like, what is the reason why we don't see him on the dance floor?
Luke Newton is a great dancer.
I'm just questioning.
You meant Luke Thompson.
Sorry, Luke Thompson. Luke Newton is a great dancer.
Luke Thompson is a good dancer too. We saw him dance with Lady.
Yeah, but those are like heavily choreographed, different.
I just think Benedict didn't want to have to dance with his sisters. I think he found that
because thinking back in season 2 when they're all at the board together at when no one else shows up, who does Benedict dance with, or near, or whatever?
It's country dance. It's country dance. They all kind of
that's why I said
each
near.
Because Eloise.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that actually.
I think it is Eloise but they all kind of switch off. Because I know that Colin danced with Eloise briefly, but he also danced with. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Asking the hard-hitting questions today while I clean out.
What are you doing? Your face isn't even in.
Oh, sorry, I'm cleaning. You know when you've got a case on for so long and just those little bits of gunk build up, annoying me because
yeah. I take the case off and put it back.
Which is what I'm doing. But I've also got like a sticker on, so I'm trying to get around that really tight edge. It keeps the tangents when I have something else to distract myself.
Yeah, I figured that's why I'm so snacky on these because I'm trying to like.
I've got no snacks.
Keep my hands busy.
Steven.
Well, we always start these like I start by eating whatever.
Steven
try not to eat an actual meal.
Steven fed my snacks to the labor. It's fine, but it means I've got no snacks.
Steven, this 2 weeks freaking row. Quit. What? Taking podcast snacks.
I double the
and
snacks.
we should do a whole like this podcast is brought to you by what snacks are we eating today?
I know. I was actually thinking that's so funny. I was actually thinking that we never actually state what snacks is going on today, but like I can literally hear myself in the recording and I'm like, I know I'm eating something, I don't know what it is.
Today, again, I have cheese popcorn. This time I have actual Jenny's cheese popcorn.
Today's tangents are sponsored by.
And for anybody in America, you can order Jenny's popcorn online. They're in Elyria, Ohio, I think, or Lorraine. Jenny's popcorn is the best. And if you can get it, you got to get the hot cheese or nacho cheese or whatever they call it now. That's my favorite. But they don't sell that in stores hardly.
So yeah, my last kind of points that I want to bring up is dive a little bit more into the swing set scene where I think it's one of the few times that we actually see Benedict being raw because in the 1800s, and you know what, sometimes even in the 2000s, men are expected to just get on with their lot in life. And then, as I was kind of saying earlier about how Eloise expects that, oh, well, because you're a man and you've got every opportunity, you should just automatically be happy. And Benedict's like,
Mhm.
hey, sunshine, it's not as easy as that. Like, it takes more than the stars aligning to be happy, you know? And I think
Yeah.
she thinks that he's ungrateful for not being happy with all that he has because I don't have those things.
But I think that these swing set moments are two siblings who are 100% completely authentic with each other,
Raw.
because
Yeah.
I think because in every other sibling dynamic there is a specific personality for that sibling from
Yes.
that
Yes.
sibling. I think the two truly authentic with each
Yes.
other siblings, like they have a legitimate close connection,
They are being
is
they are sharing
Benedict.
everything rawly.
Yeah, Benedict. And because I don't even think, I think they try to play off Daphne and Antony that way, but because of
Mm,
the way he was in season one, it didn't work out.
but
And that's why season two felt a little forced. And I really wanted her to be that, like, last year you made me marry a dude. You tried to duel him. Like, I want reciprocity. That would have been more authentic, right?
yes.
But she was trying to be like their sibling relationship was like close and tight. But the way season one played out, yes, she seemed surprised but more perturbed. Like, I think if she would have come off more shocked at his behavior in season one, I could have bought that whole loving sibling wanting to help him, you know, find love dynamic. But I don't
Yeah.
think they come off authentic with each other. I
No.
think they're a little bit antagonistic. I think
And
Colin and
I don't
Eloise are very
I don't think that they
antagonistic.
were honest with each other at all because at no point does he actually
Mm-mm.
state the truths behind about Simon and his upbringing. It really takes a long time for him to
And
even
he
give her
doesn't,
a morsel.
he's not honest to Daphne about his feelings for Kate either at
No,
all.
but if you think about the start of it, like when he's saying, "Oh, you know, he's never going to marry. He's not worthy of you." Rah rah rah.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of being like, "Are you actually interested in?" Like he
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask any of the questions. He just told her what she was and wasn't doing. Didn't say any of the whys really to start with. It was just he's not suitable for you.
Because
And
he
just
can't be vulnerable with her. He
but the
couldn't
funny
tell
thing
her the truth.
is how, and I think she may have even brought up this part. I really can't remember in its entirety. But how was he any different then? Why was he suitable for Kate or Edwina or anyone if he was pulling the exact same crap as what the Duke was pulling? Except the reason that didn't want to marry for love was different. He didn't want to marry for love because he didn't want to break someone's heart and leave someone that he loved. That fear of
Mm-hmm.
abandonment and abandoning, you know, and leaving a wife and child and family potentially without a home then because obviously back then it didn't and if you didn't have a boy it wouldn't
He
have
had
gone.
plenty of brothers that they would have still had a home.
I
His
know,
issue would have been,
but
his issue, I think, wasn't leaving a family with nothing. I think his issue was putting, because he saw it as such a burden. He didn't want to put that burden on
yeah,
one of his brothers.
yeah,
And although he just randomly throws it on Benedict, you know, like
yeah.
in
I
the
want to go
duel, like, hey,
traveling.
if
Here you go.
I die, it's gonna be you. And then he, in season three, like, he's like, here, sign this. Your signatory is now as equal as mine. See ya. Wouldn't want to
Yeah,
be ya.
Audis.
And I think that's a good thing, but it's not a good thing. Like, I don't know. I understand why they had to do it, but
It didn't fit with his
it
personality.
it didn't fit with his personality at
It was
all.
purely for timeline of filming and so it felt forced because
And in a season where we have a couple that wrote a lot of letters, and I know the letters in the books really was Eloise and Philip, because you see the snippets of their
yeah,
letters. We needed to see letters. We needed to see Antony writing home, because I just had the conversation again about Colin rushing to propose the way he did, because he needed to announce it to the family and have it be news before Antony got home. And they knew Antony was coming home
yes,
because Hyacinth said, finally you arrive. So
finally,
obviously
yeah,
they were late.
yeah,
So Colin didn't know how much time he had when he was in the carriage. He didn't know when Antony was coming. For all he knew, Antony was in that house. And he wanted to walk Penn in there and be like, this is happening.
Mhm.
And he just lucked out that it was his mom and his sister because he was worried that Anthony was going to say no.
I'm actually proud that I feel like we got through all of it and will not need to do a part 3 because I feel like we've sufficiently. I mean, there's always more. I could honestly go on forever about these siblings, but for today, gentle listeners, we will leave it there and continue on next week's episode where we've actually had an episode request, which is to talk spouses, which we will probably break up. Patty, what are your thoughts to the spouses we actually have on screen and what we know as one episode? So that would be Simon, Kate, and Penelope. And then the spouses that we have not seen thus far being Gareth, John Michael, Sir Philip. Oh, we could maybe squeeze, if we're going split down the middle, put Sir Philip because we have met him.
Well, and here's what I think. I think if we're continuing this, we're at our anniversary. If we're continuing this and we want to talk Bridgerton, we know they're coming up because they have said 5 and 6 are coming.
Yes.
Right? I think we need to focus on the spouses that have already happened.
Yes.
Like we save Philip analysis for Philip's season, save Michaela for that season.
Well, we can
include Sophie in what we want to see with Sophie, and then we can have. I mean, we could do a what we hope to see, I guess. Progress.
We had a brief intermittence because I had to take some work phone calls. So we just discussed how we were going to do spouses. I don't know how we'll split that up, but we'll figure it out. So that was, what did I say? Who heard them was Sadia. Deep apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Sadia, Sadia. But thank you so much for the suggestion.
Shadia.
No, because there's no H in there.
There's no H in Sade either. That's just Sade. That's a 90s singer, by the way, but it's Sade.
Thank you for the recommendation, because we absolutely love it when people make suggestions or recommendations or requests of episodes that they would love to have us muse out. So please, if you have any others, if anyone else has any episodes they would like us to cover, please head to our Facebook page, our comment section on YouTube. Basically, anywhere you email us at the Ladies Bridgerton podcast at gmail.com.
No, Ladies Bridgerton pod. That's why I was having an issue with Zoom today.
Oh, pod. Yeah.
Ladies Bridgerton pod at gmail.com.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. So if you're enjoying our podcast, please remember to click follow on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you are listening. We are now over on YouTube. Patty has been doing an amazing job adding in, basically makes these 2-minute-ish shorts of the best bits of our YouTube episodes. So if you're kind of wondering what our YouTube is about, you can go and check out some of those and see if it's something that you'd be interested in watching. But please remember to click follow, subscribe on YouTube, because it really, really helps us to be able to monetize one day from it.
Yeah, it does help. The more people we have subscribed, the more people we have
engage
stuff. Engage, yeah. Sadia, however you say your name, I'm going to say it every way that is possible, just so I try and get it right.
If you break it down phonetically for us, we'd greatly appreciate that.
Please. The comments like that just helps us get out to more people. And you obviously found us because of other engagement, and we love having you in our little tangent squad.
Yes.
Welcome. So yeah, subscribe, like, share, comment. We would love to have it all. Be great. And once again, thank you for listening to the musings of two mad women.
Yours truly, Tash the Kiwi
and Lady Patty.